When you live in a small town, everyone knows where you've been and what you have done. I've been trying to leave this old town since I...
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. I'm Zeta.
And I'm Kelly, and you're listening to
Two Sides and the Truth. Okay, it's time for an update. We need a little theme song for this. Like every time we do an update, like a little like, oh, I didn't turn the volume up. No.
All right,
that's
update time.
That's not it either. Sometimes it is. Sometimes that'd be perfect. We need a theme song for that. Anyways, our little weekly update on what's up. So this week was Halloween.
It was.
And the World Series.
It was. Apparently.
Yeah, Kelly wasn't aware. I said, Kelly, did you watch the game?
I honestly didn't even know what y'all were talking about at first. And then I had to act like I knew what y'all were talking about because I was like, oh my gosh.
She was like, no, but I guess they won.
Yeah, because everybody was super excited.
I was like, yeah, the World Series.
Apparently that's a big deal.
And they, the teams, they play in Arlington, Texas, which is like 20 minutes from here.
I did know enough that World Series is baseball, though. So then I was like, oh, okay, Rangers, World Series, got it. I pieced it all together, roll on the fly. Yeah.
Okay, so the Rangers, as y'all know, we record in Waxahachie, Texas. Arlington is like 25, 30 minutes up from us.
Yeah, depending on traffic.
Right up the road. And so it's a big deal. There's a bunch of Rangers fans around here, and it's the first time they've ever won the World Series. And I'm not going to go too much because if you like sports, you know all this. And if you don't like sports, you don't give a fuck.
Very true.
So I won't go too much into it, but it was really exciting. I'm not even a big baseball fan, but I do like my home teams.
Yeah, I mean, same. I'm like, good job.
And I get emotional sometimes because of menopause.
You did not cry over the World Series.
I always cry when people win.
Oh my God.
I'm always so happy when someone wins. I also cry when they lose.
Oh my God.
Not a lot of cry. It's just like a tear of emotions.
Just a single tear.
Yeah, like this is
down
awesome.
your cheek.
Yeah, and so I just like to see their faces, and they're so excited. And then my mom instincts pop in, and I'm like, these boys have worked so hard all their lives. And does anyone thank their parents for all that money they spent to make them play baseball? Like that's where I go with it.
Yeah, okay.
And I get excited, and so I was excited. It was a big deal. I can't say that I watched the whole game because, I go to bed early and I don't like sports and I really don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, they're just people.
I'm just happy when they're happy.
Yeah. Like, yay, good
yay.
Apparently it's been a really good week for Texas though, because like the Mavericks won and the Rangers won and the Cowboys, I think, won too.
And the Stars.
It's like trifecta.
And the Stars.
Everybody won.
So it's not for Texas. North Texas is kicking ass.
Yeah.
And one thing I did catch my sister doing, because she lives in Arlington, and she's funny, but can be a little petty, but in a funny way. So my cousins, a lot of them live in Houston, and they used to live in Houston, whatever. A lot of them were raised in Houston. And they're big Astro fans. And, the Rangers, I know you don't know this. The Rangers beat the Astros to get to the World Series. That's the team they had to eliminate to get to where they are. Uh-huh. And the Astros are really good. And, I mean, they might also have been caught cheating before in the World Series, but that's a different story. Right. So my cousins are all big Astros fans. And so my sister, she doesn't want to give Dallas the credit or even Texas. So she was like, the Arlington Rangers. The Arlington Rangers won. Everybody, every time Arlington in front of it. And I'm like, they're the Texas Rangers. But I'm going to let you have it because you live in Arlington and I'm going to let you have it.
You go, girl.
I think she was just trying to rub it into my cousin's faces.
Yeah, probably.
Well, job well done.
Good job, guys.
So that was yesterday. I know y'all are going to hear this next week, but that was yesterday. And then the day before that was Halloween. Mm-hmm. And Kelly, tell us about your Halloween.
Yeah, so I had all these ideas, right? And of course, I did didn't do any of those ideas because I was planning.
Because you usually go big on Halloween.
Yeah, I usually dress up literally all week. I didn't dress up a single time this Halloween season, and I think I'm in the kind of get like seasonal depression a little bit, which I didn't used to, but for some reason I kind of feel that way. I don't know. So I didn't even go out. I was going to go out with Sunday, or I was going to go out trick or treating.
I half expected to hear from you. Yeah,
I was going to come here and do karaoke if they did it. But then I literally was like, all day was going back and forth if I was going to. But finally, I was just like, you know what? I haven't had a Halloween that I just stayed home. Like, since me and Dante have been together, like we haven't just stayed home and handed out candy.
Well, you haven't even spent a Halloween with him, technically. Yeah, really. You always go out and he stays home.
No, so I told him, because he was expecting me to go out too, and I was like, no, just get some candy on your way home, and we'll just hand out candy this year. And he's like, okay. So he was working a little bit later, so I was like, I really wanted him to get home in time that we could hand out candy. So I just kept the light off for a while until he got home, and we sat out, and I obviously have a bunch of costume stuff. So I dressed up just in my usual black attire. I have these black horns that I put on. And then he got home and I had this little black, little eye mask that I gave to him, but then he put it on. You can't even see it though. So I was like, that's really doing nothing.
It was the same color black.
I was like, you can take that off. You can't even see
so
it.
Funny. Next year, get him a white one.
I know.
Throw it all off.
And so
that's so cute.
But we had fun. We sat there and handed out candy. And when we got done, we had one piece of candy left. And so I was like, oh, this piece of candy's for me. So I open it up. I'm going to eat it. And it's bad. Like, it's obviously like old chocolate. And I was like, what the heck? I was like, babe, where'd you get this candy from? He's like, I just stopped at the dollar store. It was the only store like between like the last town and home. And so he's like, just stop there. I said, obviously they ran out of candy and used
last year's
candy that they still had. And I was like, oh my gosh, I felt so bad. We just handed out.
So you just poisoned your neighborhood.
Basically.
There's a bunch of little sick kids running around Frost, Texas.
It's their fault because they came up and got candy from the devil.
I mean, they should have known.
It's really whose fault
Hey, it's trick or treat.
Right?
They didn't know they were getting a trick, not a treat.
Sorry about your bad luck.
Well, I went out the night before Halloween. I went out and bought candy at H-E-B. I went grocery shopping and I bought a bag of candy. And then I didn't even pick a candy I thought the kids would really like on purpose.
Yeah.
Thinking they're less likely to eat it. Mm-hmm. But I had a little bit of a cold or something for about a day this week. I don't know. I just felt bad I started feeling bad that evening when I got home from the grocery store. And I was better by the next evening. And it was just kind of achy,
a little 24-hour bug.
Yeah, it was weird. So when I got home from the grocery store the night before, normally I unload the I'll put them away, but I wasn't feeling real great. So Zaylee and Zoe were like, we'll put the groceries away for you. I was like, great. And I go back and I go lay down. And then the next day, Zoe's made plans. So I have to take him to a friend's house, and him and his friends are going to go trick or treat. He's 6'1", so I'm sure that was awesome. He had a ton of candy, so no one had a problem with it.
No.
He was an American flag, and his best friend Eddie is shorter, he's old 6'1". His friend's I think he's 5'6", 5'7". He's not a real tall kid yet, and he dressed as Napoleon Bonaparte. I said, had we known he was going to dress like that, we should have made you Napoleon Dynamite. That would have been so funny. But no, he was an American flag.
Yeah.
So Zaylee texted me or called. She called me and she was talking about what we were going to do that night because she didn't have any plans. And I was like, let's just hand out candy. I bought some candy last night. We're going to hand out the candy. And she goes, oh, that was for the trick-or-treaters?
Oh my gosh.
I'm not kidding.
Oh my! What did you think it was for?
Them.
Oh my God!
And so when they were unloading the groceries and they came across it, Zoe says,
"Your kids, I swear."
Who's this candy for? And Zaylee goes, "I guess it's for us."
Oh my God!
And they ate almost all of it.
Your kids.
I thought they ate all of it, so I was pissed. Oh my gosh! I get home and Zoe actually had left maybe 20% of the bag. So I was not happy. So I was like, well, that's what we're giving away. I'm not buying more. But we've never had a lot of trick-or-treaters. But I was like, I'm also not usually home. We go do stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was like, maybe we really do have trick-or-treaters. We're just back too late. So I'm prepared. Not one trick-or-treater.
Oh my God.
Not one. And at one point, I took my little front porch, little table that's in between my chairs on my front porch, and I put it on the sidewalk in front of my little, I have like a fence around my yard. I have a white picket fence around my yard, like exactly what you imagine a white picket fence to look like. So I thought maybe they're scared to go through the white picket fence. So I put the table with the candy on it on the sidewalk by my mailbox.
Like, come and get it.
I purposely positioned some suckers a certain way to see if anybody touched it. Nope.
That's crazy.
Totally not touched.
You would think, and even Dante even told me, he's like, I bet Zeta has a lot of kids, her being right downtown. I bet she gets swamped. I was like, yeah, probably.
I mean, I am right in I don't think you can get more in the center of town than I am. Of Waxahachie itself, I'm pretty dead center.
That's so crazy.
No, not a one. The only trick-or-treater I saw on my street was dressed like a Christmas tree. And they dropped a ball in front of my house. There was evidence. There was a red Christmas tree ball the next morning in front of the house. I laughed so hard. But no, we didn't, not a single trick-or-treater.
That's crazy.
But I will say that on the other side, just 4 blocks from me, we're in the historic district. So the homes in my neighborhood on average are about 95 to 100 years old. My house is, I think, 97 years old. And so the historic district is the original part of town, and it has the coolest trick-or-treating 4 blocks away. Like, people come from miles away. They shut, Harbin is the name of the street. They shut the whole street down. Like, you can't even drive on it.
Yeah.
Every house on the street participates. Some of the houses have haunted houses they build in the front yard that you get to do for free. One house does a big projector where they show Halloween movies and give dads beers. One year they grilled hot dogs and handed them out. It's no joke. It's like every movie you've ever seen, like Hocus Pocus, where all the kids are running around trick-or-treating and the witches are like, look at this. That is what this street looks like. There's hundreds of children.
Yeah.
And so why would you go to my street when you can go 4 blocks away and go to that street?
Yeah, they kind of drained you out there.
They did, and that's fine, because how much did they spend on candy?
Yeah, so apparently your kids were right. The candy was for them.
Apparently.
They manifested that.
Yeah, and then Zoll was like, he was at his friend's house, and, my kids don't really go to friends' houses. They're all about mom and home. But, he had plans. This is honestly maybe the first time he's ever had plans with friends that I didn't arrange.
Oh, wow.
My kids are not, they're mom kids.
We know.
They're family kids.
Definitely.
And so he had these plans, and he's developed a great social life lately, which I'm really happy about. And so I went and dropped him off, and about, I go to bed at 8:30 at the latest on a weeknight. At 8 o'clock, I was like, just let me know when I need to pick you up. At 8 o'clock, he texts me, hey, we're going to watch a movie or two, and then you can pick me up. Like, you mean when I'm getting up for work?
Yeah.
At 4 when I get up for work? No, bitch, I'm coming to get you right now. And I did. That's all we did for Halloween.
Good old Halloween.
I made jambalaya because I wanted warm, good food. So that's what Zaylee and I did. We ate jambalaya and we chilled out and I took a nap. I don't know. That's what I did for Halloween, and I'm not going to complain.
Weird is riveting.
I will say, I forgot to tell you this. Okay.
Uh-oh.
We've been having some drama up here in Waxahachie on my street. I live in a quiet neighborhood, and part of the reason I don't think we had trick-or-treaters is that there's no children on my street. It's all elderly people. A lot of these people have lived here for a long time.
Yeah.
And my next-door neighbor, my house is at a 4-way corner, and there's a stop sign. It's a 4-way stop. And it's right smack in the middle of town. And on the side across the street from me, but on my side, our side driveways butt up across from each other, is my neighbor. And I don't know any of my neighbors very well. I've met the one across the street from me is British. The person on the other side of them at the other corner is a Hispanic family, a very large Hispanic family that throws huge parties that are awesome, and I want to be their friend, but we're working on it. And then next door is another family, and the one that Rick had the competition about who's going to bring the trash can in, and the neighbor didn't know they were in competition. He just didn't bring his trash can in, and Rick was not going to bring our trash can in until he brought his in. Yeah. I finally broke it, and I pulled the trash can in. But we see the guy outside all the time. He's always outside. But the rest of the family doesn't really come outside. He has a wife, 2 kids, and I think his in-laws live there. And I think it's like a multi-generational situation.
Yeah.
Anyways, the last few months, we've had a few occasions of police presence.
Oh, interesting.
We were thinking a divorce was pending. We're thinking there's some domestic situations going on. And so for those that don't know, I don't have curtains in my living room, my dining room, or my kitchen. I like sunlight, and I have nothing to hide.
Oh, it's just open show.
I don't give a fuck. And I don't walk around naked. I don't even have a TV in my living room because we don't watch TV. Like I guess if you want to come in and like steal my fucking, I don't know, my pictures on the wall. I don't know. So we get to see a lot because there's no curtains. We can see everything. And we're right on the main corner.
Yeah.
And so one day, a few months ago, they were in an argument, and it was on a Sunday morning. We were having breakfast, and their driveway is kind of a circle drive, and they're having an argument, and we see the argument, like we see they're arguing. So we like to play this game where we make up what you're saying.
Yeah.
So it's Zaylee, me, and Rick, and we're like, and he is the guy. And I am the girl, and Zaylee is just kind of occasionally like laughing at us. And he's like, "Bitch, you're out all night whoring around." And I'm like, "What? How would you know? You never came home to see if I was here." Like, we're just making it up.
Yeah.
And so she they get in their argument. She backs out of the back of the driveway and then goes to go and drive on the street and to leave going towards the 4-way stop. He hits his truck. He jumps in his truck, hits reverse, pulls out to stop her so she can't go past him and like blocks him.
Oh my God.
We're watching the whole thing. We're not even trying to hide.
Yeah.
We're like looking. You're like all of us.
At the
whole
windowsill.
I call Rick down to see it. Like, let's all look.
Hurry up. You're missing the good part.
You're missing the show. And so he gets out of his truck, gets over there, and they're getting into it, and he reaches in the car and takes her keys out so she can't go anywhere. And then Rick's like, shit, I'm going to have to go over there. If he touches her, I got to go over there.
Right.
I can't, if he hits her, don't hit her. And he's like, don't hit her. It turned serious.
Yeah.
He's like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Bitch, is he going to do it? I got to go. I'm going to have to go over there. I'm going to have to beat a motherfucker. He is not happy. And I'm like, and so that it didn't happen. Eventually, he gave her keys back. He pulled his truck in, and she drove away. Okay. And so we were like, okay. And that was a few months ago. And then since then, we've seen a few things that made us think they were arguing, but we couldn't, a few things. Well, then the other day, the day before Rick left to go to California, they start the police show up. And there's like 5 cop cars at once there.
Whoa.
And one of them's parked at my house, there's like a little section by the little white picket fence where people park. When I have a party or have friends over, they all park. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. One of the cop cars parked kind of on my yard right there. So I'm like, damn it, people are going to think it's us with the domestic dispute.
You're making us look bad.
I was like, can you just park next to their house? Like, what is going on? I wanted to put it on Facebook. It's not me, y'all.
I didn't do it.
And so we're all watching. And Rick's like, he going to get arrested? What happened? Is he going to get arrested? This is on a Sunday morning again. And so he didn't get arrested. They all talked. I don't know what all they did, but we saw the cops coming out of the house. And then eventually the cops left and the man drove away. So he didn't get arrested. This is not this weekend, but the weekend before Sunday. So I was like, okay. Well, then Rick goes to California the next morning. And then this weekend, Sunday morning, Zol runs upstairs. He's like, the cops are across the street again. Or no, the cops are across the street, and so is the ambulance, and I think our neighbor killed somebody.
It's escalated.
But it was a different neighbor. It was the Hispanic people across the street from him that I said I want to be friends with. And so I go and look, because I'm like, what? Because they never have problems. So I'm like, what? So I go over there, and it's ambulance, fire trucks, and police. I said, no, that's a medical emergency.
Yeah.
When they all show up, that's a medical emergency. And then they left. 2 hours later, Zol runs upstairs again. And he was like, the police are back, but they're the other neighbor's house. We live in a good neighborhood, y'all. This doesn't sound like it, but we really do. We never have issues. So I'm like, what? And I look, and sure enough, there's 2 cops at their house. And I'm like, oh, I wonder what's happening. And then I realize he's in cuffs.
Uh-oh.
And I'm like, oh my God, he's really getting arrested. And Rick has missed the finale of this sitcom we've been watching for months. We don't know these people. We wave, but we've never met them.
Yeah.
So I'm like, he left and he missed the whole finale. And so I'm watching it, and I'm like, this man's getting arrested.
You feel like you're watching the finale of a show without him, like a little bit. Like,
I immediately called him.
I shouldn't be doing this.
Oh, no, I called him. I was like, bitch, guess what's happening? I took pictures. I sent them to him. And I'm like, oh my God. And he is like, yell out the window, free the neighbor. It's the bitch. She's probably running the roads and cheating. He's pro the man. I'm like, no, it's him. He's an abuser.
Obviously.
So this is our narrative that we've been doing for months. He's always been pro this guy. I've always been pro the wife, who I've never even seen the wife. I hardly ever see her. She's never outside. He looks like a very nice man, but
Maybe he's very controlling and doesn't even let her out of the house.
we don't know.
Who knows?
We don't know. And so, but then he's cuffed, so we know something happened. And his dad is there. I can tell it's his dad. We see him often. And so in the back of his truck, once I look in the back of his truck, I realize his barbecue pit's back there. And I'm like, oh, he was moving out.
Oh, that's serious when you're taking the barbecue pit.
You know it's
it's done.
That's it. That's the sign. So I'm like, he was moving out. There was a problem. I don't know what's going on, but that's what's happening. So Rick and I are talking about it. Whatever. So they arrest him. They take him away. His dad leaves. I'm like, okay, it's over. I go downstairs like 2 hours later. Zaylee was like, did you see what happened with the neighbors? Oh my God. I said, yeah, they arrested him. I wonder what happened. She goes, well, he hit her. I said, how do you know? She goes, I saw it. Zaylee saw the whole thing.
Oh my gosh. And
said,
she didn't tell nobody?
No, why didn't she? Have you met her?
Right?
She's the informer.
She should have been the one going around the house. Oh my gosh.
She's the great informer.
Oh man.
But she thought I was napping and was afraid to come wake me, so Zol came.
Oh my God.
But Zol didn't see it. She
Yeah.
did. So I didn't know we had a whole story.
Oh.
So then Zaylee's like, oh yeah, I went for a ride on my bike around the corner, and I came around the corner and they were screaming, and I got scared, so I got on our porch, and Zol wouldn't answer the front door to let me in, and I didn't want to go back to the garage where I was because that's across the street from where it was going on, so I just kind of hid on the porch, and I had to hear it because they were both yelling. I said, they were both yelling? Like she was yelling? He goes, yeah. She goes, yeah. He was trying to come in the house to get his stuff, and she was like, you need to get out. This is my house. And he was like, you get out. It's my house. She was like, no, actually, it's my house, and you get out. And then he slapped her, like open-handed, like popped her.
Oh man.
I said, what? She did what? What? Yeah. I said, what'd she do? She looked stunned. And then he hit her again.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, I knew it was him. I knew it was
the
him.
whole time.
Yeah. I said, no wonder he got arrested. He deserves to be arrested.
Yeah.
So then I called Rick. I was like, your boy's an abuser. He was like, man, yeah, I can't support a woman hitter. I can't support a woman
you can't.
hitter.
Once it gets to
There's
that
no
point,
going back.
It really isn't.
I said, Zaylee saw it. He goes, what? And then he was upset because he was like, dude, that's not cool.
No, it's not.
And, but we are invested. At this point, this is soap opera. So then
She needs to go tell them so she can be a witness if she needs it.
I debated,
I mean,
but I don't want to put my kid in the middle of that.
I know.
She's autistic. That's the last thing she needs. She got enough.
that's true. But if it comes down to there were no witnesses, there actually were.
That is true.
I mean, that would be hard, but if it was only one person that witnessed it and it was me, I would hope that they would come up and say something.
Okay. I have been on the fence about this all week.
I'm just saying, if it was me, I'd be like, because it really could be, it's your word against theirs if nobody witnessed it, and if there's no cameras.
That is true. I mean, he did. I mean, yeah.
Just
And
saying.
it's happened before, right? Like once you hear that, once my kid told me that, I was like, this has probably happened before. And here in Waxahachie, we have something called Busted Page, where anyone that gets arrested in Ellis County, they're, it shows up on the Busted Page, their mug shot and what happened. Mm-hmm. And then all the assholes in town like to comment on it, which I don't think is cool.
No.
I don't believe in kicking someone that are down. Now, unless you kill somebody or you hit a woman, then I do believe
I
it.
can understand the importance of it because you want to know what
You're
dealing
surrounded
at.
by.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I call Rick and I'm like, I'm gonna be watching the Busted Page. I don't even know his name. Okay. But I know his face.
Yeah, you'll know him.
Yeah. And it takes a few hours for it to show up. Like usually it takes 6 hours to the next day. And, because I know everybody in Ellis County, so I see these things. And so I'm like, I'm watching it, and there he pops up. And it is continual, violence of family member, which means it happened before and he's been arrested before.
Wow.
So then I Googled his name because now I know his name. Mm-hmm. And yes, he got arrested in July for the same thing.
Wow.
And that's about the time we saw the other incident. And so I was like, oh my God, this is a real thing. This is a real thing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And then I felt bad because trash day was Tuesday and he normally takes the trash out. And I knew that because before Rick lived with me, I took the trash out to make sure it got picked up. And then I realized the trash bins weren't out, and it's the last thing she's thinking of. But, you need your trash to go out.
Oh, yeah.
So I snuck over there at 4 a.m. and pulled the trash bins out.
Aw, you're so sweet.
Like, I got you, bitch. I don't even know you.
This is the least I can do.
But I will take your trash out for you. Fuck, you don't need a man. You got
sure
a neighbor.
You do not.
Yeah. So that's my
Wow.
week. Yeah.
Wow.
You didn't even know that was coming. Yeah. These are the days of our lives. Ellis County, this is what's up. So that was and let's give you a Rick update because he's still in California. He doesn't quite know yet when he's coming back. Oddly enough, he likes California more than we expected.
Wow.
He said the people are just as rude in Dallas as in California.
So no change there.
No change there.
Yeah.
He said, though, everything he goes to eat is healthy. Like Mexican food, whatever. Everything is healthy, and he's sick of it. And so he finally goes to a Mexican restaurant last night, and it's finally not healthy Mexican. And he's so excited to have not healthy Mexican. And it tastes like shit.
Oh, no.
And now I know why people in California are skinny, because your only option is shitty good food, like shitty fattening food. Like it's not even good, so you don't want to eat
so
it.
Like, yeah, might as well just eat the healthy stuff.
Exactly.
Oh.
And that's what he said. I went back to the healthy shit.
Poor Rick.
And then he went to, so my friend Jenna lived in Redondo Beach, which is where he is now. And she lived there for like 20 years. So I text her and I'm like, hey, tell me all your favorite restaurants. I'm gonna send them on to you. She goes, well, I don't think you'll be interested in the fancy places. So here's the other places. And it's like a burger place and Mexican and whatever. And one of them was Hawaiian food, which I've never had Hawaiian food. Have you?
No.
Me either. I don't even know what the fuck it is. Pineapples? I don't know. Coconut? I don't know.
It's the only Hawaiian things we can think
That's
of.
all I got. Fish.
Pig.
I don't know. Pigs. I feel like there's a pig with an apple in their mouth or something.
Cook pigs in the ground or something like that.
I imagine it's good. That's all I know. I don't know what it is, but it's probably good.
Yeah, probably.
And so he was like, I'm trying. That's the first place he tried on the list. He was like, that sounds cool. I'll try it. And he went and he was like, and it said it was Hawaiian barbecue. He goes, I don't know the fuck they got the idea of barbecue. There was nothing barbecue about that. It was basically like jerk chicken. And, I've had jerk chicken. He was like, and it was good, but it wasn't barbecue. Yeah. But it was good. But he's texting me as he's there. And there's the guy that owns the restaurant is an older man and doesn't like to get up. And so, the guy that came in after him, he was making him basically serve himself. And so he goes, this guy is so funny. He's like, you want it? Go get it. Go get that fork. You want a refill? Go over there. Go behind the counter. I ain't getting up. And he was like, it was so funny. He was such an ass. Like, he was just, and he would tell me everything this guy was saying and doing. And I was like, this sounds like you. This guy sounds like you. He's an ass. And he was like, oh my God, that does sound like me. No wonder I liked him so much. Like, he was being an asshole and all I could do was laugh. Like, bless your heart.
All right.
And everywhere he goes, people say, where are you from? Everybody knows he's not from there.
Yeah,
and,
obviously.
Yeah. And so, but, and he really has not been too unhappy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that you're going to have to cook him up some food when he gets home.
He is ready for my cooking. He is ready for my cooking. Unfortunately, because he's eating all healthy food, he's going to come back in even better shape.
Right.
And he was already in stupid good shape.
You're going to have to fix that.
And I'm thick. And I was like, dude, can you fucking eat some fattening shit? Can you get, he does. He just doesn't gain weight.
Yeah.
So we hate him.
Yeah, we definitely do.
Anyways, that's all. That's all I got. That you're all caught up. Oh, and we got our tattoos fixed.
We did. We finally got our tattoos today. We'll post some pictures of it.
Yeah, so Kelly is no longer Ren.
We were supposed to last Friday, but we had to reschedule. So we just got them done.
Yeah, so she's not Ren and I'm not Ninch.
Oh, I kind of like old Ren now, though.
Old Ren.
Old Ren.
That can be your alter ego.
Right? Okay.
Ren. I don't want to be Ninch.
No, you don't want to be Ninch.
No.
Okay. We're back to our former glory on our tattoos. We'll see how long it lasts.
She back. Anyway, so now y'all are all caught up. Okay, so today's topic of the day is a good one. Today we're going to discuss our emotions and how to identify our emotions and give you some good advice on that, but also maybe some tools to work with it.
Yeah.
And so what started this was I saw this TikTok, of course, because y'all know I am obsessed with TikTok. And it came across it, and it was someone duetting the original girl. But as soon as I watched it, I listened to it, and I was like, I feel like I just had a little mini therapy. Like, she just totally made me really open my eyes.
Yeah.
And I immediately sent it to Kelly, and I was like, we need to discuss this.
Yeah. So the original TikToker on TikTok is Real Slim Shady, but it's Real Slim at RealSlimChayd. So it's a play on words there.
Yeah.
But she brought up some really, really good topics because she was saying how originally she was telling her friend that she felt sad about a certain situation, but her therapist had told her to stop saying she feels sad or angry when that isn't really the root of what she was feeling. That was just what she was falling on to explain it, because she lacked the ability to really understand what the emotion was that she was feeling. So she had her friend on the phone with her, and her friend were trying to really figure out what she was trying to explain. So her friend was helping her while she was at work, Googling different emotions and reading her the definition so she could understand if that was really what she was feeling. So long story short, she tried to explain to her friend how she was feeling. She was feeling played. She felt like somebody was like playing in her face.
Well, she started with sad and mad.
Sad and mad. But they ended up Googling and going into humiliation and what was the other one?
It was humiliation and
yeah, that was the biggest one. And she really didn't she didn't want to admit that she felt humiliated. So when her friend originally had said she felt humiliated, she was like, that's not it. But it turns out that it was. She felt like the person did not value her, that it was humiliating her and belittling her feelings, and that was actually more of what she felt. It wasn't just sad. And she was saying the importance of understanding what your emotion is, because not only it's going to help you understand, but it's also going to change the way that you react to the situation. If you think somebody just, upset you and made you sad, you're going to react a lot differently to them and expect a different response to them over humiliation.
Well, and like one thing about when you feel like you're sad, it's putting the weight on you.
Yes.
Like I'm sensitive.
Yeah.
Or I overthink things, or I'm emotional. And that happens a lot in relationships between men and women, where the woman gets sad or thinks she's sad, and he's like, she's sad. Wow. It's her,
Yeah, it's because you get your feelings hurt.
You're menopausal.
You're on your period.
You're on your period. You're emotional. When really you're not sad. It could be something completely different. It can be you're embarrassed. It could be that you're let down. It could be so many other things. And so you never address it with the person who created the issue. Yeah. So if somebody humiliates you, and I'm using that example because that's the one she used. If somebody humiliates you, you should be able to approach that with them, be like, you humiliated me. I wasn't sad. I was humiliated. I was embarrassed. And that doesn't just make me feel bad. It makes me look bad. You made me look bad. Yeah. And so now other people think I am this because you put this on me rather than I'm emotional. Yeah. I'm on my period. I'm menopausal, whatever the case is. So it shifts the blame when they tell you. Sometimes they tell you how you feel.
Yes, that's another big one.
Why are you mad? Bitch, I ain't mad. I'm embarrassed because you're a fucking dick.
You're making me more mad on top of the emotion that you already made me feel.
Right. And as she was going through it, and I'm going to post the video, and Kelly will post it on Instagram, and I will post it on Facebook, and we'll post, on our website, our page for the, not my personal one. Our social media. I'm going to post the original video when we post this podcast so that you can understand what we're coming from in that regards. But at the beginning of the conversation, they thought sad or mad, and they got to there. But the whole conversation required her to work through her feelings to figure out what her feelings were.
Yeah. Yes.
And I just thought that was really profound because who doesn't? Yeah. I have I know when I'm pissed, but sometimes I'm not pissed. Sometimes I'm embarrassed. I've been embarrassed when I thought I was just sad or pissed.
Yeah.
But there's other emotions too. I think it goes to love. Like, sometimes you have toxic relationships and you think, I love this person, but you might not love that person.
Yeah.
You might just be addicted to that person.
Yeah.
You might be trauma bonded.
Yeah. Or you feel too invested. You might be invested in that person.
Yes.
Emotionally, physically, what is the, because you could say like,
financially, even.
that's what I was trying to
all
financially.
aspects.
So much investment in that person that you feel so entangled. So you think that it's love, but it's really not. It's just the time and the everything that you've invested into them that you're not willing to let go of.
Yeah. And that was really like when I watched that was the first thing that popped in my head was my marriage. Because when I was married, I felt I was invested. I felt I was emotionally, like, I felt like I'm not going to ever have anyone else love me like he loves me, because he would shower me with love. That was not the problem. But the showers created a thunderstorm because it was fake love.
Yeah.
It wasn't really love, you know. So as I matured and got older, I did start recognizing that this was not love and that this was, in fact, something different. And this was a little grooming, maybe. Manipulation. Maybe codependence. It had all kinds of things. And I had to like recognize that and realize that I was, you know, and there's been other relationships with friends even that I've had where, I mean, you know who I'm talking about. I'm sure you could narrow it down. But I had a friend that I felt like I constantly had to give her a social life, give her fun things to do, and get her out of her shell and everything. And, you know, and then she made some mistakes. And then it put me in a position where I love her, but I love her. But was she loving me back? Was she putting me in a bad situation? Like, I had to really delve in emotionally to end that friendship. Like, I had to figure out, you know, what do I really feel about her?
Yeah.
How does she make me feel?
Yeah.
And decide if it was worth my energy.
Yeah. And sometimes if you don't really take the time to really dive deep into what you're actually feeling and take the time to, even if you have to look it up and actually look up the definition of some things, that way to give you a better understanding and a broader, you know, perspective on what actually is going on, instead of just falling back on the things that you do know that you've categorized all of your emotions into because you're not learned enough. You haven't put enough time into yourself to actually learn what are the emotions that are going on in my body right now. And I was that way, especially when I was growing up, because I had a lot of mental health issues that I hadn't learned. I hadn't worked through. I didn't know the definitions to certain things. So I had no words to express what I was feeling because I hadn't learned those things yet. I didn't physically know the words to say. And so instead of trying to figure out...
And if you have someone manipulating you...
Yeah. So when I was trying to figure out how I didn't know how to put it into words. So instead I was just like, oh, I don't feel good. So when somebody would ask me what's wrong or what's going on, I would just, I just don't feel good, because that was my way of shutting down the conversation that I didn't know how to have. I didn't know what to say, and I was like, it's going to take too much time to try to explain. And I don't even want to do that. That sounds exhausting. So I'm just going to say I don't feel good or I'm tired, when that was not it. I was completely drained. I felt manipulated. I was being taken advantage of. I wasn't being heard out, and I couldn't explain any of these emotions because I didn't even know what was going on. So it was too hard for me to do. So I was like, oh, I just don't feel good. So let's just leave it at that. And people would. They're, oh, okay, you don't feel good. We won't talk about it then. Yeah. It was just a Band-Aid emotion that I put on everything. And
so do you still do that, do you think?
I do, but I catch myself. Now that I know that is a Band-Aid thing that I do, and now because I've been in therapy for so long, I understand that. And I am better able to realize what my emotions and what I'm actually going through and why I would put that Band-Aid on. And it was because it was going to be too much emotionally draining on me to try to explain to somebody what I was actually going through. I didn't feel like it was worth it. I was like, I don't want to trauma dump on somebody, so I'm just going to keep it all in and not even try, because I don't want to do that. It's going to be too draining, so I'm just going to be like, I just don't feel good, and we'll leave it at that. And that's not good. I mean, it can be good because, you know, can be hard to trauma dump on somebody if they're not ready for it. You don't want to do that. But if it really is somebody, a friend that is wanting to help you, that's wanting to take a burden off of you, and you just don't know how to do that, it's really important to try to figure out ways and to express what you're actually feeling. Because once you figure out, oh my gosh, it is a weight off your shoulders. It really is. If you can put into words what the emotion is that going on, what is happening, it really is a big weight that feel like you're able to release because you're finally able to wrap your brain around what it is that's going on.
Right. And even if you don't have to tell the person that made you feel that way, like there's sometimes it is a waste of time to tell the person.
Mm-hmm.
But you do have to be honest with yourself. Yeah. And you have to be like, I got to remove myself from this situation and this person and be honest with myself that this is not a healthy situation. And why is it not a healthy situation? How do they make me feel? Why do they make me feel that way? And, sometimes I might really just be emotional. I might be menopausal.
Yeah, that happens.
It definitely happens. But sometimes that's not the problem.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's more. And sometimes you're the person that has hurt somebody. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes it's owning how you make someone feel. And you may not be making them feel that way on purpose either. So it really kind of helps both people in the situation and communicating.
Yeah, I definitely think it can be a domino effect. If you're not understanding the emotions that are going on in your own body and you're trying to have a relationship with somebody else in any kind of form, then that can create a toxic environment because you might be acting in a way because you don't know how to deal with your own trauma or your own feelings.
And now you're traumatizing someone else.
And they might not even know how to either. So that's like two wrongs that are not going to make it right. It's not going to help out.
When I heard the whole thing, I really was thinking about my children. Having kids on the spectrum, everything's very black and white. There's not a lot of gray. And Zaylee has been through a lot of great teachings and therapies to help her regulate her feelings and her emotions. And a big part of that is teaching her to understand how she feels. I don't get the same therapy she gets. So when I heard that, I thought, this is kind of what they've been teaching her. Like, because she will self-correct and then come to me and be like, I was wrong. I apologize. I might have overreacted, but someone taught her, how to do that.
How to check yourself. Yeah.
How to check yourself.
Which is very important.
It is very important because that's something I know a lot of people cannot do.
No.
And
either because they don't want to, or they don't know how to, or because they don't want to admit that they were wrong.
Right.
And so they might check themselves in private and be like, oh man, I was wrong, but they're never going to admit it.
Right. I mean, I'm guilty. I have, my mom and I, when we go through our stages where we wouldn't speak, and it was always me that wouldn't speak to her. She never cut me off, but I would cut her off because I didn't feel comfortable addressing her.
Yeah.
She was very dominant to me, and I didn't feel comfortable being like, Mom, this is how you make me feel. Whereas my sister is a therapist, and my sister had no problem. This is how you make me feel. This is, she's really good at that stuff. Whereas my reaction was, I'll talk to you in about a year.
Once I get over this.
I'll let you know if I get pregnant again. Okay? You might be able to come see the kid. And then we would make up and it would be like nothing ever happened and we would never discuss what happened.
Man.
My mom and I did not, until 5 years before she died, talk about our problems. And then thankfully I got it right, but we fixed it. But it took me saying, can we fix this? Like what can we do to fix this? Yeah. And I hurt her too. And I didn't know I'd hurt her. I didn't even know I'd hurt her. It was all her fault in my head. Yeah. And then I was like, damn, she right. That was a bitch move.
Yeah.
So I just really thought that was really cool. The other thing I thought was cool is this is a really good tool. And when I saw the video, when you look in the comments, and some of y'all that take therapy all the time are probably like, no shit, man, this is basic.
Right. Welcome to the table.
I apologize. I don't go to therapy, and I definitely should, but I don't.
I'm a firm believer that we all need it at some point in our lives.
So one of the first, it might have been the very first comment in the comment section was someone said, you need to Google the feeling circle. And it's a chart. And so the feeling circle is, so Google it. I want y'all to Google it. It's the feeling circle. And basically it gives you direction on what to do. And you start in the middle of the circle. And it's all these core emotions. You start in the middle. And then you're not trying to identify how you feel immediately from the first word. You're trying to identify what resonates with you. So you start in the middle and then you're like, this one kind of resonates with me, how I'm feeling right now. And then it leads you to the next step. And that's up the wheel to the next section, and it gives you more options breaking it down. Like one's the core feeling, and the other one's like if you feel mad, you think you feel mad. Why do you feel mad? I feel mad because I'm embarrassed. I feel sad because I'm embarrassed. So I'm not really sad. I'm embarrassed. Why are you embarrassed? I'm embarrassed because I was neglected, or I feel neglected. Oh, I feel neglected. He's been neglecting me. It makes me feel embarrassed. That makes me sad. There's just so much, and you might have multiple things. And part of what it said was, whenever the next day, check yourself. How do I feel today? Do I still feel like I was neglected and it made me sad, or that I was neglected, it made me mad, or whatever your case may be? And you might feel different the next day once you've kind of calmed down. And so you need to be like, maybe I feel all these things. And I just thought, what? That's really, that's an aha moment.
Yeah.
And we all need to do that for our own mental health, but also for our relationships.
Yeah.
And I'll say one thing with Rick and I over the years is that, his household where he came from was very knee-jerk. You were mad or you were happy. It was mad, happy. It was yelling or praying.
Yeah.
And in my house, it wasn't like that. And so our communication skills are not always the same. And so he will get mad and he will get mean, not mean, but loud.
Yeah.
And loud is the right word for it. Blah, blah, blah,
Yeah. Dinosaur.
Everyone kept saying on the podcast, this is not what I expected him to sound like. I asked Kelly, what do you think they thought Rick was going to sound like? She was like a dinosaur.
He was going to sound like rah, 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 rah,
because that's what I say all the time.
You were just going to have to explain, this is what he's saying.
What he means by rah, rah, rah is.
The translation is.
And so over the years, I'm like, listen, that's not how we're going to address this. We're going to have a conversation at a different level, and we're going to communicate different than that. And, and how do you feel and how do I feel? And we've gotten to the point now that in fact, honestly, he's way better at communicating.
He has surpassed you now.
He has definitely surpassed me. It's weird. It is so weird. And he addresses it and he changes it.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I'm the one that is not a good communicator. And I'm the one that doesn't always want to talk.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, no, we're addressing this right now. You tell me why you feel that way. Let's fix it. Whereas 10 years ago, rah, 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 it was totally different.
And then hang up the phone.
We never have been big arguers. We really aren't. But his communication skills are very different than mine.
Yeah.
And, I'd tell him, do you know how you come across? Do you realize this is what you sound? Are you a Neanderthal? Like, what is up? And that's why he sounds like a dinosaur.
Yeah.
He's really a caveman. He's one step above y'all.
Yeah.
So that's where we are with that. So I just thought that was really cool. I just really wanted to talk about, us thinking about, how things make us feel. Yeah. So I had a situation in my life recently, not with Rick or even my children, and I just did not feel appreciated. And me not feeling appreciated made me feel used and taken advantage of. And so that's what I kept thinking. I feel used. I feel taken advantage of. And so this makes me think maybe that's not how I feel. And maybe I feel a little different. Maybe that's not the case. Maybe what it is I feel undervalued. Mm-hmm. There's just so much more. So I'm going to get on this wheel. Yeah. I'm going to figure it out. And we're going to do a full circle.
Yeah, we're going to full circle on the wheel.
We're going to full circle on the wheel. The other thing I wanted to say about the little TikTok was the fact that the girl, her friend.
Oh my gosh. MVP of Friends right there.
She was like, girl, she's like going on a spin. I think you feel this way.
We're going to figure this out. I'm going to Google this.
Yeah.
This is the definition.
And I thought this is a good example of friends or even just relationships. Yeah. It can be your significant other. But when you work together, it just helps both of you. It's not just because, her friend probably was like, I need to be doing this in my own life.
Her too. I really aspire to be that type of friend. Like I want, that really it put in my head the steps that I want to take to improve my friendship skills, because I know they lack a lot of times. And it's because of my inability to really communicate emotionally.
Right.
Because I just shut down. That's just always been my thing. And so if it's too hard, I'm just going to be like, oh, deuces.
Well, it's really hard also to have a conversation with a friend that needs to have a hard conversation.
Yeah. Really
and so when you really love somebody, it's really hard to have a conversation where you're like, hey, we need to talk. Mm-hmm. This is what you got going on, and I'm worried about you. And, you know, I've recently had a conversation with a friend where I did have a conversation that was hard to have.
Yeah.
And because sometimes you feel like, am I out of my place?
Yeah. Am I the right person to be giving you advice?
Or does she or he want it? Like, should I be giving it?
Yeah.
You know, but I did know I had a unique perspective on the situation, and it was really very relevant to my life at a time. Mm-hmm. And so I felt like I could share that. And I do feel like my friend knew that about me. You know, I know my friend knows that about me.
Yeah.
So when I had that hard conversation with them, I was able to be honest with them, be like, listen, I'm having this conversation with you because I want nothing but the best for you.
Yeah.
Like, this is not me getting on to you. This is me loving you. Like, and it went very well.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful conversation. And I walked away from it happy I said it.
Yeah, that's good.
And it was hard to say.
Yeah, because you don't want to. It's
you don't want to step on toes.
You don't want to, but it's worse leaving things unsaid that you go back and you're like, I could have made more of a difference if I wasn't too scared that I was going to cross a boundary.
Right.
You know, because you can apologize for that boundary afterwards, but sometimes too much damage gets done, and you could have maybe helped out if you said a little bit more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know that when I was a kid and my mom was going through some of her situations, there were some adults in her life that should have
stepped up.
They should have stepped in. Yeah. They should have stepped in.
Yeah.
And when I was an adult, I addressed it with them. Mm-hmm. Where were you? Why didn't you step in? Why? Okay, all of y'all act like you knew all this was going on. Okay, you knew? You knew and you ignored it and you let it happen? Like, I don't understand why you did that. And I had to get it off my chest. I had to be like, I hold you responsible too.
Yeah, well, that's good.
You know, because you were the other adult in the room and could have handled it and could have dealt with it. You know?
That, you right there, holding them responsible is a hard thing to do. Instead of just, okay, I'm not going to do it because it's hard.
Right.
It's important that you did.
And I was to the point I was ready to burn that bridge. I would have thrown that match on that bridge myself and thrown some gas right on top of it if that's what it took. Because, you know, there might be another kid that needed someone to step up. Mm-hmm. So I just felt like that, you know, I just felt like this was a really good conversation to have. And I really would like it if people would, A, watch the video and get yourself thinking, B, look at the chart, and C, you can literally take a piece of paper and just write it down yourself. Write down your first feeling. Mm-hmm. And then how does that make you feel? Like, why do you feel that way? Well, I'm not this, I'm this. This is why I'm this. This is how. And if you got a best friend or you got someone you trust, a husband, wife, whatever, child, whoever you trust to have these conversations with, have them.
Yeah.
Have them. Like, if they're really your best friend, they're going to have that conversation with you. If they can't have that conversation with you, they don't love you like you think they do, because that's how it should be. I know I could go to you and I'd be like, I need to have this conversation. Yeah. I could go to a bunch of my friends, you know, not that I could go to my core girls.
Yeah.
You know, the cabin girls.
Yeah.
You know, I could have that conversation with every one of them.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important.
It is.
So I really just want to encourage everybody. This is not as long as most of our main topics, but I don't want to just beat a bush. I want the core importance of it to be there.
I think it has been.
All right. Well, good deal. I feel happy right now.
Me too.
I feel accomplished.
Yeah, I feel accomplished.
I feel happy.
I feel lighter.
There you go. Lighter is good.
Yeah.
All right. Brandy's in the room staring at us. Brandy, just yell it. How do you feel now? Loud?
I feel nothing.
Great.
Oh, okay. Great.
Okay. Well,
we really resonated with her. We helped her out so much.
I'm gonna need you to go back next door. Okay, on to the next topic, Brandy. So we have another returning guest from season 1 on this episode, our longtime friend.
Yes, he was actually on last season, the episode All's Fair in Love and White Elephant War, which we went with him to Big Al's White Elephant Christmas party and had quite a good time.
Yes, and I think we've discussed him before, going to his high school reunion with him as well, which was your, what year?
55th.
55th. I thought it was 55th high school. Yeah, he likes to take 2 dates everywhere he goes. He's a lady killer.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's all's fair in love and White Elephant.
Right. So we brought Terry on because we wanted to do a little special thing about Veterans Day. And it was really Terry's idea. I mean, I would like to think that we're this awesome to think of this, but
It was a great idea, Terry.
it was a great idea. And so Veterans Day is coming up, and Terry actually served some time. And we wanted him to come and tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, serve some time. That makes it sound like a prison sentence.
It does. I'm sorry. He served in the military.
Oh, yeah, let's clear that up.
Most people I know did serve actual time. No, I'm kidding. Only a few of them.
Yeah. Well, in my case, it was not by choice. I was drafted, probably one of the last drafts in the for the military. This was in 1969. And after basic and advanced training, was sent to Vietnam. In Vietnam, I was in a tactical operations center. I was never really in any danger, you might say, because of certain things that we did there that some of the Viet Cong actually stole from us. So they wasn't going to do anything to us, or they'd be biting their own hand. So, like I say, I never was in really any big danger, but I was well aware of everything that was going on and everything that went on around us. So a lot of people, when I like to talk about, honestly, when I came home, a lot of the guys, when they got home, they would be walking down the street or even in an airport, and people would actually try to spit on them and, just really nasty things to them.
My goodness.
Now,
And as if these gentlemen chose to go. I mean, these were boys that were that had to go.
Yeah,
You had to go. I mean, unless you broke the law and you...
Well, there were a lot of volunteers, I will say that. But most of us were draftees, and, it wasn't our choice, but we went. There were a lot of folks that did take off for Canada. That never crossed my mind. I wouldn't do that. But coming home, none of that actually happened to me. I guess maybe it's because of my size. Nobody.
Okay, yeah, probably so.
Yeah. How tall are you, Terry?
I'm 6'5", so
Yeah.
Anyway, but I will tell you this: when I was, excuse me, when I was at the San Francisco airport getting ready to come home, I was walking down the corridor. And people could be on the same side of the corridor with me. When they saw me coming in uniform, they would actually go over to the other side of the corridor just to avoid me.
Oh, my goodness.
And, that's not a fun or good feeling. But, one of the things that, it wasn't a popular, as they called it, conflict. Now, I will say this, that of the 58,000 plus people that died over there, I don't think their families would call it a conflict. They would call it a war.
Yeah.
That's what it was. But we were not actually at war, they said. But 58,000 people, it was a war.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, when I got home, my mother picked me up at the airport, and we drove in back here to Waxahachie. And granted, a lot of my friends, some of them were away at college, but if I happened to be going down Fair Street coming home, people would just kind of look at me and just kind of nod and never say anything whatsoever. So, it was typical of what would happen to us coming home. So I never really thought about it. But about 25 years later, seriously, 25 years later, I was sitting at lunch with a bunch of guys that were in the same type business I'm in, and one of them found out that I was a Vietnam veteran. And he said, "So am I." He reached his hand across the table and said, "Welcome home." That was the first time, other than my family, to someone say that to me.
Wow.
And so throughout the years, I make it a point. See a veteran, I don't care what conflict or war they were in,
All right.
I'd always say, "Welcome home." Now, I have an ex-brother-in-law who was in the Korean War. And he had said to me, "Why are you guys so bitter? Why are you bitter?" I said, "Let me ask you a question. When you came home from Korea, how long did it take you to get home?" He said, "We got on the ship, and it took us 2 weeks to get home to Seattle." I said, "Okay, what happened when you get to Seattle?" They put us on the bus, drove us down the street. People were cheering and yelling. And
We've seen the pictures. There were parades.
Parades. Yeah. And I said, "I got my orders." 2 days later, I was sitting at the supper table. Never had a chance to come down off of whatever you want to call it. I wouldn't call it a high, but come down out, to do that. But I said and no one really wanted to have anything to do with us. That's why we were bitter, and still are. Some are still bitter today.
Right.
But throughout the years, it's just kind of gone away from me. So,
What did he think when you explained that? Did he realize that? Like, I'm sure he kind of did.
He said, okay. He said, I do understand now. I do understand where you're coming from. He said, that would make a difference to me too.
Yeah.
So.
Now, was that coming home in your experience, was that anything that you expected coming back? Did you have any kind of inkling that was the kind of welcome home you were going to get?
Honestly, I never really thought about it until I got home.
Until it happened.
Until it happened, yeah. So the best part is my mother stopped off and we got a 6-pack of beer. So
Wow.
That's funny.
Good job, Mom.
When you got home, did you have this sounds like a silly question, but I don't think it is, because when you're homesick, I associate food with home. I think most people do. Did you tell your mom, I need you to fry me some chicken? Were you just dying for something?
Well, I'll tell you exactly.
That beer? That's
besides beer, yeah. I grew up country food.
Yeah.
My favorite dish, and still is today, was a plate of cornbread, pinto beans, and fried potatoes.
Oh, yeah.
And I asked for it, and of course she made it for me. So,
That's a good one.
I hadn't had it in over a year. So,
yeah.
So anyway,
I make that. I will make you some.
Okay.
I won't burn it this time. I burned his food one time.
Oh, way to go, Zeta.
I never burned food either. I never, and I did. It was horrible. Chicken and dumplings, I believe, right? Yeah.
How do you burn chicken and dumplings?
Well,
it can happen.
Yeah, I'll tell you
I've
how.
done it too.
Yeah, I can tell you how if you don't stir it enough, because it gets stuck at the bottom and the heat's too high. But you have such a big pot, you've got to have a little heat.
Yeah.
But you've got to just keep it moving.
Right.
And I apparently got sidetracked. But I really don't. I mean, especially chicken and dumplings, because it's one of my favorites.
Okay, now I really want chicken and dumplings.
I'm making them next week, so come over.
Okay, good.
But as far as your takeaway now, if you were going to say something now to people that have veterans in their life, what would you suggest that they do to help them?
I'd like to tell you a little story about, and this just happened 2 years ago. It was right before the big part of COVID happened. Some of the high school kids were talking about taking a knee during the national anthem before one of the games.
Oh, yeah. I remember when that was big.
And and it upset a lot of people in Waxahachie. And some people even put out on the Facebook that I'll boycott, I'll never go to another game or whatever. So I was friends with the basketball coach, and I went to him and I said, look, would you mind if I talk to the guys about what they're planning on doing? And he said, Terry, I'm going to tell you something. Not only are you the only white person that's offered to do that, you're the only person that's offered to do that. And yes, I would love for you to come talk to the team. Well, I was expecting to go in and talk to the varsity. Well, this was on a Saturday morning, and he called the entire team from freshman to junior varsity all up, put them in the stands and introduced me. And some of them said, he said, y'all know who this guy is? And one guy said, yeah, he's always in the front row. So
Yeah. Terry, just for people, listeners, that Terry is very involved in Waxahachie sports and the youth and helping them. He does a lot for our town.
So anyway, I asked him, I said, look, guys, what I'd like to do, I'd like for you guys to tell me your story, about why you want to do this. And if I listen to you, I'd like for you to listen to my story. So they told, 3 or 4 of them told me, their story. And, one in particular said that because my father was beat up when I was a child and I witnessed it. Now, maybe not, I don't know. But he had that in his mind.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, guys, it's my turn. I told him, I said, I'm a Vietnam veteran, and I want to tell you that what I did and a lot of other people like me in other wars did for you, they are giving you the right to do what you're thinking about doing. I turned around and I pointed at the flag and I said, guys, that flag's done nothing to you. So I'd like to make a suggestion. And when I told them my story, I told them about the 25 years, and they were kind of shocked. I said, I said, maybe They're not the same, but they are the same if you'll think about it. Your story and my story. And I told him about the flag, and I said, I will defend your every right to do what you're thinking about doing. But I'd like to tell you what I'd like to see you do instead of that. I told him, I said, you don't have to look at the flag. Just bow your head. And if you want to say a prayer for all the inequities that are going on in this world, maybe sometime in your lifetime, and hopefully in mine too, that all that will change. But to take a knee for that reason is going to do nothing but cause more animosity. Mm-hmm. And I said, I also heard that you guys, some of you think about going to the Veterans Day ceremony at Civic Center. I said, I'd like for you to go. I think I've heard you're afraid of what people might say to you because of what the rumor is going around. I said, but I will stand there with you. And if anyone even suggests anything bad to you, I'll step between you and that person. I'll put a stop to it. Out of the varsity, 9 of them showed up.
Nice.
Which made me feel pretty good.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a little story that I've got. Now, as far as helping veterans, if I don't have a particular charity or anything. There are all kinds of charities for veterans, and you can look them up online or whatever. But the best thing you can do, no matter what war or conflict, if they want to call it that person is in, walk up, put your hand out, shake their hand, and just say, welcome home. That will go a long, long way for a veteran.
Yeah.
So.
I told him the other day when he told me this story, I was like, I've never thought of it that way. And I was like, but now I'm doing it. Like, I will make sure I do that. You will be forever ingrained. And after we talked, I went home and I told my kids the story. Yeah. And I was like, this is something we're going to learn from Terry today, so.
Well, appreciate that.
I think that those are all good points. And you didn't even tell me about that story about the flag, and that's a good one.
Well, to follow that up for that same story, the very next year, I'm in the Rotary Club, and we recognize Veterans Day every year, and it was a situation where the basketball coach came to me and said, do you have any idea what we can do? I said, I don't really know at this short a time. I said, but we're having a Rotary meeting on Thursday. And I said, it's a little late for us to set you up for lunch, but you'd be more than welcome to attend. We were having that day, we were having it over at Tuscan Slice. And I was standing there, and I looked out, and a busload of kids showed up. And what they did at that meeting is they went around to each veteran and said, tell us where you were, your rank, and what you did, and this, that, and the other. So
those same kids, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. Some of them had already graduated, but pretty much the same kids. And by the way, those that graduated, when they come back to town, they'll come up to me and shake my hand.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, they showed up, and when they got to me, and I told them what I did. If you're interested, I was a sergeant in a tactical operations center in a place called Cat Lai, Vietnam, and I'd just like to tell all the veterans here, welcome home. Every one of those kids stood up and clapped, every one of them. Mm-hmm. So evidently I made something, put something in their mind to make them do that.
Definitely.
So again.
We're going to have to put a tissue alert on this.
Yeah, for sure.
When I don't want to cry, I pinch myself. And I had to pinch myself so I wouldn't tear up just now. That's a great story.
Anyway, I'm proud of what I did. I wouldn't exchange the experience for anything in the world. As a matter of fact, on my bucket list, I'd like to go back over there.
Really?
And visit. And not that I know
and
anybody.
Enjoy the country like now. And now you could enjoy it.
And I can tell you, Vietnam is a beautiful country. It is very beautiful. Now, conflict-torn, war-torn.
Not so pretty at that moment.
At that moment, no. But they have, there are certain places that were pretty then and probably even more beautiful now.
Right.
When I went over there, I was supposed to go to a place called Vung Tau, which is the in-country R&R place on the beach on the South China Sea as a radio operator.
Wow, yeah.
Well, I was intercepted in Saigon, and they sent me to Cat Lai. So anyway,
So now you got to go back there. Now you got to make it.
right. So then I'll do that. At some point in my life, in the next year or two, I will definitely do it. Y'all had asked me one time with your little ball.
Yes,
Yeah.
a reckoning ball.
Yeah, if you were going to be traveling.
Yeah. I forget what it said, but I will be traveling. I don't care what it said.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, I reckon I will.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Well, thank you for coming out and joining us. I am going to put a link to a charity. Actually thought of it. I started to look it up while we were doing this, and I stopped because I wanted to hear your story and not be concentrating on it. But I actually do know a charity that a friend of mine that is also a veteran. He's a veteran of the Iraqi War, but that he now works for. So I'll share his, and that's one charity. But I do like, charity's great, but actually having conversations, I think, are even more important because a lot of these guys have probably still not been welcomed home.
I agree with that, and there's so many of the Vietnam veterans that are going through mental problems right now that if there's a charity out there for that, I would love for that charity to get help.
Okay, I will look into it, and that's for a lot of veterans because that's Iraqi. I mean, because see, like my parents' era is Vietnam. My stepdad served, my ex-father-in-law served, but my age, they all went to Iran and Iraq. Like they fought different wars, Afghanistan, and they were in the Middle East.
Now you said you pinch yourself.
Yes.
Would you like to start pinching yourself?
Oh no, you're gonna make me cry.
Oh,
Yes.
no. Oh, no.
Go ahead. I'm pinching myself.
When I was getting ready to go over there, of course, my family threw a big get together and everything else. And as I was getting ready to come back home, my grandmother pulled me off to the side and said, "You be sure you come home to me."
Yeah. Damn it, Terry.
It brings tears to my eyes, too.
Yeah, it does.
Anyway, I thank y'all for letting me come in and tell my story, and I hope it does some good for a lot of folks, and a lot of folks take notice of what I've said, and hopefully more and more veterans will have, again, no matter what conflict or war, more and more veterans will get the welcome that they deserve.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely hope that any veterans that are listening right now, that we can tell them on here, welcome home.
Yeah.
And thank you so much.
And I'll definitely start doing it. I feel like a jerk. I didn't asshole. It's never crossed my mind, And, I mean, I thanked one because I was dating him when he came home. But that's the only one I've ever thanked. So lesson learned.
Okay, well, I look forward to our next date, guys.
All right. Your 60th reunion. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for joining us. Maybe come back next week and bring a friend.
Yeah. And remember, there's always 3 sides to every story.
2 sides and the truth.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.